The earliest fighting games transcend our definition of gaming consoles as it stands today. Each game existed on a custom-built piece of hardware housed in a spectacularly decorated cabinet. The arcade culture that surrounded these games has largely been replaced by the internet, but the fighting game genre has managed to maintain something of that culture, with modern entries to venerable franchises like Street Fighter, Soul Calibur, and Mortal Kombat still dishing up that 1v1 face-off single-player or co-op insanity that defined the early arcade cabinets. Maybe there actually is something timeless about the desire to beat each other to a bloody pulp, because there is something inherently satisfying about a well-executed fighting game. Even, somewhat bizarrely, in my case. My earliest gaming memories tend to be pretty different from most people, focused around PC games that would run on the Office Max specials my parents had at home, which meant they were a little old, like Descent or Doom, or graphically pretty simple, like Age of Empires. And with the vast majority of fighting games at the time locked up on consoles, there wasn't really a whole lot of opportunity for me to form a connection with the genre. But form a connection I did, thanks pretty much entirely to One Must Fall 2097. As you can tell by now, I'm sure, it's basically a battle mech fighting game of much the same style as Street Fighter. The controls are cabinet style, meaning your basic directional commands and various strength punches and kicks. There are also, of course, combo moves that are triggered by stacking those commands just so, and your typical best of 3 game mode dominates the matches. There's nothing of the brutality of Mortal Kombat on display here, and even when compared to Street Fighter, One Must Fall is pretty tame for a fighting game. That's likely why my mother even allowed the game in the house. But in later years, as I saw more and more of the fighting genre at friends' houses and later on the internet, it was thanks to One Must Fall that I had any idea what the heck was going on. And honestly, as a side note in the history of fighting games, One Must Fall 2097 probably doesn't really deserve a whole lot of attention. But even still, going back to it decades later, it does succeed in scratching the same itch that inspired the classic fighting games of yesteryear. Just punching. Lots and lots of punching.